Hello everyone, so I was finally able to go see The Little Mermaid. This is Disney's newest live action rendition of their classic movies. So of course, this one is directed by Rob Marshall, written by David McGee, and it stars Halle Bailey and Melissa McCarthy as some of the more titular roles within this, but it's Halle Bailey as Ariel. So this one is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and yes, without further ado, let me get into my review for The Little Mermaid. So the IMDb synopsis of this is: a young mermaid makes a deal with a sea witch to trade her beautiful voice for human legs so she can discover the world above water and impress a prince. So I can see it is very, very similar to the animated classic that we all know and love. I tried my best to watch the original before I went to go see this one, and unfortunately didn't happen, and I haven't seen the animated Little Mermaid in a very, very long time. So there are some details that are just completely lost within my head. So I can't quite speak to the accuracy or some of the smaller details again to how they fit in with one another the greatest, or not compared to I think most people who would have watched the original and then watched this. But I still have a pretty good idea of what happened, what didn't happen in between the two, and how accurate this was. So again, too, it does go down the same formula, but it is a little bit longer, so it adds a lot more kind of depth and a bit more backstory to the human side of things, to Ariel's extended family, all the other mermaids, not so much to King Triton, but definitely the most new details come in the form of Prince Eric's character, where you just get to learn a lot more about his aspirations, his duties, and again, to how he wants to change the world and how he sees it differently from his more so the queen, and again to just how different their views are, and there is just a little bit more of a heartwarming scene between the two of them at the end when it comes to again to just the events that transpire underneath the roof of their kingdom. They do as well add a little bit more just kind of depth to Ursula's character from what I remember, and they do this again too just by making it a little bit darker, making her scary in a lot of ways. And yeah, there's not really too much more I can say without going into the spoilers about these characters and the things that they added within them. But I did like the additions of a little bit of, again, to these backstories that they added to the characters, but a lot of the times I felt like it still needed to be more. Even though this movie is 2 hours and 50 minutes long, it still felt like so many things were just left in the background, or they just kind of pop them in to make your head go, oh, okay, that's interesting, how is this going to grow? And then they just never expand upon that or never explain a lot of the backstories of these characters, these new worlds that we see. So a little bit disappointed in that, and I felt like they could have spent a lot more time either just not having these elements in, not showing it, if they're not going to explain it at all, or again to spending more time on into building up these backstories, these characters, and taking out some of the weird and not great original songs that they added into this movie. There are times where I do think she's funny, but Aquafina plays Scuttle within this movie, and they give her one song that's just not good, and I wish I had a fast forward button in the theater because it was just really, really hard to get through it. A lot of the musical numbers too, I found that they're just nowhere near as good as they are in the original, again too, from what I can remember. And a lot of that has to do with these actors and singers being off key, or their voices just don't hold up to what the original movie was able to do. Haley Bailey, I think, did absolutely amazing within all the musical portions of this. Her voice is fantastic, and she carries every single song that she's involved in. And again, too, pretty much every single scene that she's in, she did a really, really good job as Ariel, and I do have to commend her performance for it. But I found most everyone else, when it came musically to it, just weren't able to, again, to hold up to what the original was able to do, and that did kind of drain me a little bit while watching this movie, because inevitably that's what you kind of think. And really, with everything taken together, this isn't something that you're ever going to want to watch over the animated classic, just because, again, to all the additions that they put in, while they could be cool to the surface level, there is no depth to them, and they just don't really feel like they're absolutely needed. When it comes to the CGI and everything, this movie cost $250 million to make, and even though there are some really great effects, there are times where the CGI just doesn't look great at all, or it wasn't polished enough, or it looks really, really weird, mostly in the kind of designs when it comes to Sebastian and Flounder, where they just do not look great. And again, through the emotion that's coming out of the voice actors' voices are like they're good, but it's just it's kind of suffers from the same thing that the animated Lion King did, where there just isn't any animation or emotion to their face, so it just doesn't sound right and look right when you mash them together. And yeah, again, it just suffers from again too just some really weird effects, really weird visual designs, and again too there are times where even though again too the visuals can be pretty spectacular, especially for a Disney film, there's times where it's too dark to really appreciate and see all the details of everything that's going on. Even though you know it's there, it's hard to really get a glimpse of the just how special it would have looked at the end of the day. And then there's times too where I found this with a lot of Disney movies as of late, where the backdrops and all of the set designs feel really, really uninspired, and there just isn't a lot to look at. It just doesn't look like they tried in certain aspects of like these scenes, but then all of a sudden they'll transfer and you see so many amazing creatures and colors, and it looks beautiful in a lot of ways. So again too, there's times where I had love-hate relationship with this movie. There's times where it really, really worked, looked great, sounded great, but again, so when you compare it to the original, it just doesn't add and stack up. And that's why with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give the 2023 live action version of The Little Mermaid a 6 out of 10. It's definitely not bad, and not nowhere near as bad as people are making it out to be. I didn't think the trailers looked great, but again, too, this does it is better. It's definitely not a bad movie. I think it gets my minimum recommendation. That's why I'm giving it that 6 out of 10. But again, too, I would say give it a try. There are some great performances in it. Some of the songs are decent. Some of the songs suck, but yeah, no, I do think it's worth a watch. It's just you're never going to want to watch it over the animated version ever after you've seen the two and you compare the two in your head. So if you've seen The Little Mermaid, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you can check out everything I do on the channel through the playlist down below. And I'll link some up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing. Turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out the description of this video or my channel bio, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where I talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you definitely join that amazing community. I'll make it even more amazing as already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.